Welcome to Maritime Matters, a podcast focused on leaders in the maritime market, the people, the companies, the technologies that are making and breaking the news, helping to lead the maritime industry to a safer, more efficient, more profitable, and cleaner future. Welcome aboard. This is Greg Troutwine, your host today, and we're very pleased to be joined by Michael Johnson, founder and leader of Sea Machines, a true pioneer in the discipline of maritime autonomy. And Michael, I know that most watching this know the Sea Machines name, but can you give us an update, a kind of by the numbers look at Sea Machines today?
By the numbers, I'd say that, we're 9 years into this, a little over 9 years. So more specifically, with today being the full moon, actually, the flower moon, we've existed for 116 lunar cycles. We've had 5 test vessels over that time. We've operated tens and thousands of miles under autonomy in our testing, and then our customers have done their mileage. Other numbers, we've also spent over 55 million into the global economy over that time period, most of it in the US, and well over 750,000 man hours. And since 2019, since 2020, we've sold $20 million of product. So we are also number one, I'll say, the leader in this space, and still a private investor-backed company.
I cannot imagine. I've been in this business for 30 plus years, but I can't imagine starting your own business from the ground up, particularly in an area like maritime autonomy that is literally forming as you're forming. So when you look back at the company that you created and Sea Machines today, how would you say it's mostly the same and most different?
Well, yeah, interestingly, there isn't much difference today from the original vision, which was, from a high level to lead the marine industry in the 21st century with new tools that enable significantly new capabilities, new levels of productivity and efficiency. And from day one, we aim to deliver this by shifting routine navigation and control effort to the machine. And that's called giving the machine autonomy. We knew that the early adopters would be task-driven vessels, workboats, and specifically those that are considered day boats in the conventional marine world. These vessels are used for high-value jobs such as marine surveying, security, oil spill cleanup. And we saw that if we reduced or eliminated onboard human control, that the operators could do much more and do it safer. And that's our primary product direction today. In fact, we're still working to complete the original mission. The difference, though, is that for many years, I would say, I was the direct puppet master internally, pulling strings daily. In fact, I did that for way too long. And it took us really too long to get a team that worked together ultra efficiently and super collaboratively, but now we have an amazing untethered team that performs and builds like a very well-oiled human machine. And I've gone from being that puppet master to kind of a conductor, that knows or is learning to know when to get out of the way and learning to ask the right questions at the right time as I watch our team execute very well.
As I said at the outset, Sea Machines is truly a pioneer in this space. But as you know, and I think you can attest, blazing a path, being a pioneer has both its advantages and its drawbacks. So you just reflected on the company that you built, but when you look at the industry, larger sense, because your tenure in the maritime market is obviously longer, can you offer insights on where we are today in terms of autonomous vessel evolution and how that reality differs from what you thought it might be when you started out?
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, the maritime space is made up of many different sectors. So some sectors are adopting earlier than others. As I mentioned, like workboats is where we're really our where our revenue is coming from today. But every truly disruptive technology takes 20 to 25 years to take hold. You can look back through history, radio, air travel, television, the jet engine, cell phone, to the unattended engine rooms. And when we started, we thought, or I thought, we'd see mass adoption of autonomy, earlier than 20 years. Um, you know, we saw how the rise of the internet had seemed to buck that trend of 20 years, and they had it adopted in about half that time. But the reality is that much of what was managed over the internet in the first 20 years was non-critical. Probably the first critical thing was online banking. And that was, if you consider that critical, that was closer to year 20 in that cycle. So what we build is we're building tech that controls vessels. So it's critical tech. And it will take 20 years to really see mass adoption. So we're halfway there. And on this journey, we're witnessing rising sales and watching that adoption increase.
I consider banking very critical. I like my money, and then when I put it there, I like to make sure it stays there best I
Right.
can. So best I can. So, you know, um, again, as I know, you can attest far more than I. Talking about maritime automation and autonomy is one thing. Deploying it on working fleets is quite another. We talk about the challenges to real autonomy regularly, from technology to the legislation to the insurance to just getting by those ingrained attitudes and habits of maritime, which can be a conservative industry doing it the way they have always done it, as I think you will attest. But when you look at the challenges of bringing autonomy to maritime, what do you see as the biggest hurdles, and how is Sea Machines working to get over those hurdles?
Yeah. So I think, as I've always said, the biggest challenge for us is time. You have to have the wherewithal, the determination, and the capital to make it to a time where the business is self-sustaining. And as long as we hold firm to a mission that delivers significant value, and as long as we remain steadfast in our desire to deliver working products with conviction, then those other concerns that people talk about, which of course are important, like regulations, insurance, attitudes, those concerns will resolve themselves. It's much easier to sit around and talk about reasons why something can't or won't happen, and it's harder to make the things actually happen. And I'm much more attracted to the hard work of creating. But believe me, I mean, side story, I'm also from the marine industry. I'm a conservative skeptic as well. And side story, I'll tell you that I've eaten my share of burden to pass on this. So when I was with a prior employer, and we were engaged by a space company to help design the ability to land rockets on barges, I was so smart to think and unfortunately say, yeah, that'll never happen successfully. And it didn't take them too long to say they didn't need us and that they like to do the hard work and make stuff happen. So there was a little bit of learning for me there. But another challenge is helping the industry understand a practical vision of the technology. Many years back, when Rolls-Royce first created that, Battlestar Galactica style marketing video showing the unmanned ship control center, and then Kongsberg and Wärtsilä piled on, I thought it was good as it advanced the idea of autonomy. But looking back, I realized that it confused and it complicated the understanding of what we were really doing. The large unmanned commercial fleets really are still science fiction, and it is set in the future. The marine industry, and something that I just truly appreciate and love about the marine industry, is that we have one of the most professional, most collaborative and most dedicated human workforces. And autonomy is a new tool for that mariner's toolbox, and it will effectively deliver value to the global society, working alongside and with the ship's crew. And I'll say the last challenge I'll mention is, for a startup like ours, is to identify and work with the right partners that add real value to the journey. And when you're new to this, as I was, it's easy to get excited by large established companies, that want to be an innovation partner. And many of these collaborations are loaded with ideas, but difficult to pull value for the startup. So it's, you have to find partners that are collaborating for operational value, value on the water, and not just for marketing buzz or for innovation's sake.
I know you've already discussed where we find your autonomous solutions, your autonomy, and I don't want to beat a dead horse, but if we could just take a little bit of a deeper dive of all the markets that you currently serve, which to you right now seems best primed to move forward fastest on autonomous solutions, and why?
So for us, two factors that determine the earliest adopters of our tech. It's the scale and turnover of that customer's industry or that sector. And then number two would be the speed and scale of the ROI for them. So as we said, the best markets for us at the moment are marine surveying and defense. Marine surveying is a multi-billion-dollar market serving, hydrographic charting, offshore resource development for oil, wind, mining, and also dredging. And it's also a highly competitive market, and therefore companies are always looking for ways to be more productive, more efficient. And when much of their work is long duration, routine effort, it's perfect for marine autonomy. So it's one place we serve. The other is defense, and in peace times, defense tech is slow to emerge as it should be. But when it starts to heat up, so does the need. So we've been working with the innovation side of US DoD for years, knowing that one day the innovation will be carried into the large programs. And now, and I'll say suddenly, the current conflicts in Asia and Europe are showing value in low-cost unmanned machines, both aerial and marine. And the Western technology today that's capable of defending against this new tech costs a lot of money, like 25 to 100 times what those unmanned machines cost. And beyond the cost imbalance is the threat for the Western militaries of being overwhelmed by the mass of these low-cost machines. So Western nations see this, and I expect that we'll begin to see a shift of budgets from only focusing or mostly focusing on those large capital ships to building large fleets of smaller, capable unmanned vessels.
I think your comments are particularly poignant on the developed nations versus the developing world, and the use, how technology is being developed and used. So that's great. Michael, again, I appreciate those insights. To bring out the newsy aspect of this, I know Sea Machines recently unveiled SELKIE, your own USV loaded with Sea Machines tech. Can you walk us through the process a bit, starting with when and why you thought it was your best move to develop your own USV, and what advantages ultimately that offers to you and to your clients?
Yeah, absolutely. So in 2015, very early days of the company, we did have a goal of building USVs. We had some great early designs and renders that we did alongside with Jensen Maritime. But we saw the companies that were ahead of us doing the same, and they were struggling just with the real world challenge of building a boat that works time and time again. And so instead of being pulled into that similar bird nest, we decided early on to fully focus on the tech as a product that can be retrofitted into proven conventional boats. And now, many years later, as an industry leader with good working technology and proven products, we know that there's a significant part of the market that still they only want the full boat solution. They don't want to retrofit. And most, and I dare say all, of the full solution unmanned boats that are available to these markets are simply wireless remote control, like a fun toy that you can buy at FAO Schwartz. And those customers we see today are, they're done playing and they're coming to us and they're looking for more capability. So we are stepping in to serve the market with real remote command, not just remote control. And in that is autonomy that's, behavior and feature rich, delivering the needed value for them.
Well, again, I appreciate that. So, I'm sure on your website and hopefully on my website when we broke the news that anybody can find the technical specifications for SELKIE, but you take a little deeper dive into that, noting what you see as the outstanding technical spec of the new USV. And just talk about things like size range. Is it kind of a one size fits all, or is it's coming out in a range? But I guess talk about the technical spec and then coming out of the box, which customer groups or missions do you see it's going to be best suited to serve?
Yeah, for sure. So, we would like to build a pickup truck on water, but we know it's very difficult to provide a boat that does everything for everybody. The first build is what we call the SELKIE 7. She's a 7-meter length boat. She's HDPE build, single diesel outboard, 400 to 500 nautical mile range, and cargo bay that holds 2 Euro-sized pallets or 1,000 pounds of cargo payload. This first version will be released as a survey version. She has a keel-mounted sonar flange, and as well as an onboard 100-meter CTD winch. We're also including an anti-roll gyro to limit the motions on the vessel. So the customers will be survey and also defense, like we're serving today. But we also, we see real value for scientific and conservation projects. And later this year, we look forward to talking about SELKIE doing, real good for protection of threatened species.
So, Michael, as always, I truly appreciate your time and your interest. I just had one more question. Michael, I know you just introduced SELKIE, and perhaps it's a bit premature to ask what's next for Sea Machines. But when you look at the coming 12 months, what do you see as essential to make Sea Machines' future a success?
Yeah, thanks a lot, Greg. So our goal is always at Sea Machines, it's always to deliver big value to the marine industry. It's the domain and it's the market that we love. And to advance or try to speed that adoption cycle we talked about, our goal is to move the technology from a nice to have to a need to have. And one thing that we're doing now that we are really interested in and excited about is we recently signed a contract with a respected European shipping company to install our SM300 aboard one of their cargo vessels. And in the second half of this year, they'll be operating with Autonomy managing transit control. And we look forward to talking about that, later this year, really talking about the underlying value driver that will hopefully propel the value of autonomy and the SM300 into the cargo fleets of the world.
Thank you for listening to Maritime Matters. If you would like to be featured on a future Maritime Matters podcast, visit www.marinelink.com or email maritimematters@marinelink.com.